Jeff Gordon wins a crazy and unpredictable race at Martinsville Speedway, which definitely made up for the lack of cautions we saw last week. Hello and welcome to the 7th edition of my Chase Race Reviews. I'm Eric, and I'm going to be spending the next 10 to 15 minutes talking to you about Martinsville Speedway, the paperclip, the second biggest wild card in the chase. But it arguably did more to shake up the chase than last week at Talladega did. So we're going to jump right into it with just some basic highlights, main key points from the race. Important things coming into the race, Jimmie Johnson was the clear favorite to win. The big goal was for Matt Kenseth. For Matt Kenseth, at least, was to try and keep Jimmie in his sights. And he'd done that most of the weekend. I'll get into that in a minute. The other goal was for guys like Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch to try and win this thing or do well so that they could eat into the 20 and the 14's points lead. Or did I say 14? I meant 48. My bad. So if you look behind me right now, you'll notice the points are different than they were last week, assuming you watched last week's video. I hope you did. We have Matt Kenseth is back up front in your points lead. Technically, he had a second place finish, but also led the most amount of laps. So he ends up tying Jimmie Johnson right now in the point standings, but he owns the tiebreaker due to his 7 wins, while Jimmie only has 5. That's why Johnson is second. Jeff Gordon is third now. He won the race. He had probably one of the best cars all day. And at the end of the thing, took him, the final run of the race was about almost 80 laps. About 80 laps was the final run of the race, which is the longest green flag run they saw all day long. It took him a little while, but he eventually was able to get around Matt Kenseth to take the win with about 20 laps to go. Harvick had an average race. I'm going to get into some of his stuff in a little bit. And Kyle Busch had a problem late. He hurt his championship hopes. Clint Bowyer had a strong run. Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a so-so run. Was definitely maybe hoping it would be a little better, but wasn't bad. Greg Biffle had a good recovery after an incident where he blamed Jimmie Johnson, and the two of them had a little scuff after the race. I'll talk to you guys about that in a minute. Kurt Busch, the Pebble, he got caught up in a wreck, but in general didn't have the best races. Carl Edwards was crap all day. Joey Logano, Ryan Newman, Casey Kane. Newman and Kane were both caught up in wrecks, and Joey Logano, what did he do? He ran up front, I know, for a while there, but he, I guess all in all, had an average day. They're all out of the point standings, so there's not much chance of talking about them. So I'm just going to get into a couple things I just mentioned. Jeff Gordon getting the win. That means that 5 of the 7 chase races have been won by chasers. And this is Jeff Gordon's first win since the last race of last season. So basically, it's his first win in like 33 races or so, something like that. I don't know. But it's a big one because now he is only 27 points out of the championship lead. And I know all Jeff Gordon fans are sitting there hoping and hoping and hoping that he's going to be able to beat Kenseth and Johnson. I hate to tell you this, but I don't think he will. I think Jeff Gordon is, this win was definitely big for him, but we're going to Texas next week where both Kenseth and Johnson, I think, are a little bit better than him. At least in the recent years, they've run a little bit more consistently than Gordon. I know they all 3 of them were had top 5 cars here in the spring, so that's interesting. You look at where he stands. He was 5th coming in, but with the win, he passes Harvick and Busch. So now he is 3rd. He's there still. But I just think Phoenix is really also coming up. Jeff Gordon, he's okay at Phoenix, but I think Jimmie and maybe Kenseth still both have the slight advantage there. I think Jeff Gordon, he's not out of it by any stretch of the imagination, but he's definitely still got work to do. But this win is a big stepping stone in getting there. I have to give him a lot of credit there. He had probably the best car there consistently. I think early in the race it looked like Kenseth may have had the best car. Then a little bit later it looked like, maybe Johnson has the best car. And at one point you thought maybe Clint Bowyer really has a good car. But then when you look back at it, Jeff Gordon consistently was probably the best car for most of the day. So he deserved this win, and he got it. It was tough getting it, though. It took him a little while to get around Matt Kenseth and then hold him off in lap traffic there. It got a little dicey towards the end, but he did a good job, took the win. Next thing I want to talk about is the thingy I mentioned a second ago between Jimmie Johnson and Greg Biffle. After the race, Biffle kind of aggressively had a conversation with Jimmie Johnson on pit road. about what happened on the racetrack. During the race, Greg Biffle had his rear bumper torn off, and it forced him to pit at one point and put him pretty far back, tailing the longest line pretty much, way back there. He was able to recover pretty well, very impressively actually, he finished 9th. But he blamed Johnson for a lot of the contact and stuff. They had a little bit of contact on the racetrack, and then afterwards Biffle was mad at Johnson, and I don't know. I don't really. It's interesting because he kind of says something. Biffle's some of his comments were implied possible revenge, and that's interesting because of course, like we've said, Jimmie Johnson is championship contender right here. He's probably the favorite. And if he's got Greg Biffle hunting him down, that's never a good sign. Now, of course, the odds of Greg Biffle ever really getting to the front where Johnson will be are pretty low. So it's interesting just to see how it develops because I didn't really understand why Biffle was that mad. I mean, I guess, yeah, there's some contact during the race, but at the same time, it was just kind of like, it's Martinsville for you. I mean, there's at least a dozen drivers in this race that were mad at somebody for giving them a nudge, and it's kind of interesting to see Biffle really take so much offense to it. But that's all I had to say there. Now I want to kind of backtrack a little bit here to the Truck Series race on Saturday, which involved Kevin Harvick and Austin Dillon, who I don't normally talk about the other series, Nationwide Truck, because I don't know, it's just kind of, this is the chase race, which is Sprint Cup. But I will talk about it here because it involves a Sprint Cup Series title contender, Kevin Harvick. At the end of Saturday's truck race, he was battling with Ty Dillon, who's the young up-and-coming of the Dillon brothers. They were battling for the second position. Harvick was trying to hold him off. And after a pretty aggressive battle there, eventually Ty Dillon, not Austin. Ty Dillon kind of lost himself a little bit there and got into the back of Harvick and ended up spinning both of them out. They both spun out in the process. Ty Dillon is trying to compete for a Truck Series championship. Probably not. He might not get it, but he's still competing for it. This race definitely hurt his chances a little bit. But he was. So they both spun out, and afterwards Harvick was very mad. They kind of hit each other, ran into each other a bunch under the caution. Eventually came to pit road where Harvick did that kind of. This is where I was totally on Harvick's side when I was watching this because I was like, oh yeah, Harvick has a right to be frustrated. And then Harvick did that kind of just jerky move where he pulls into the guy's pit stall. Like he did this at Bristol in the Cup Series. He pulled into Denny Hamlin's pit stall and basically was asking for trouble. I don't understand that. It's like, okay, you're mad, but freaking just settle it like a mature person. Don't park in the guy's pit stall and then be like, hey, what are you doing when the crew members come out and get mad at you? You don't park right in front of the guy's pit stall. You don't. That's like you're asking for trouble, Kevin. I don't know what he was thinking. Is this like his signature move? Whenever he's mad, he's gonna park in the guy's pit stall because that's kind of stupid. But so that happened, and then afterwards, his comments towards Ty Dillon and Richard Childress basically implying that, this is why I'm leaving Richard Childress Racing because I got all these disrespectful kids coming up. Blah blah blah. He basically just screwed himself, shot himself in the foot, so to speak, in winning this championship. He ran okay-ish today, ran like 10th mostly, I don't know. He never was a threat to win or even be a top 5 contender, really. And I think he's not going to win this championship now. I originally came in thinking he could be a good dark horse kind of guy to sneak in and maybe steal it from the 20 or the 48 if possible. But with what he said on Saturday, that's not going to happen now. He's killed himself. It's going to definitely affect that relationship that was already a little tenuous with him and Richard Childress because he just went out there and just called out not only Richard Childress, but that whole team and his grandson. He actually kind of called out both of his grandsons, both Dillons, because he kind of said those young drivers, which means he's implying to more than just Ty Dillon. But, so, I mean, it's just, not treading fine water. And this is where this is why I don't like Kevin Harvick that much. I know I talked about, a couple weeks ago, I talked about all the drivers I don't like. I don't remember if I put Harvick on the list. I probably should have if I didn't. It's because he pulls some stunts like this. He's done things like this before where he thinks, oh, I'm in the right. I mean, it's like, I did this right. It's not my fault. It's them doing this. It's like, I was just trying to do this. These people are so disrespectful. And then here I am pulling in other people's pit stalls and trying to pick fights with their crew. I mean, it's like, it's hard to really like or root for a guy in the sense of in this argument. It's hard to support someone who just kind of like he's that way. That's my same problem with Tony Stewart and the fact that he sometimes he's totally right whenever somebody runs him off the road and does something, but other times he's just kind of a baby about them stuff. And I know that's how a lot of drivers are. They always have different views about it. But it just seems like Kevin Harvick sometimes are a little skewed. And this is another thing where it was like, all right, sure, he shouldn't have spun you out, but you kind of went out and just made an ass of yourself on live TV. That's basically what you did. And I think he's kind of shot himself in the foot. He's not going to win this championship. It's Jeff Gordon now. It's probably your third best chance of winning it. So Gordon fans are happy. I'm not a Gordon fan, so I don't know why I did a thumbs up. I'm mad. I didn't want Gordon to win this race today. I want Matt Kenseth to win, but it didn't happen. I didn't think it would. So that's about all I have to talk about. Last thing is the point standings update up front. Jimmie Johnson came into this week with a 4-point advantage over Kenseth, but he finished 5th after looking like a really big, serious contender early in the race like we'd expect. Kind of trailed off a little bit. Once he got back in traffic, he just wasn't quite as good. Had some bad restarts, which we've already established can sometimes be his Achilles heel, and definitely hurt him a little bit today. Then late in the race, looking like he was going to be able to maybe drive his way up into 2nd or 3rd and maybe get around Kenseth and hold on to his points lead, but he had some problems late, got passed by Clint Bowyer, finished 5th. Still a good run for Johnson, but definitely left something to be desired when you're coming into this race and everyone's eyes are on you to win. And when you don't and actually lose the championship lead in the process, definitely is not what Jimmie Johnson wanted to see happen this week. But for Matt Kenseth, this is as good as a win for Matt Kenseth. Sure, a win would have been spectacular because then he would be in sole position of the points lead. He'd have like a 3 or 4 point lead. Everything would be great for Kenseth. But to just go out there and finish 2nd, beat Jimmie Johnson by 3 positions, and get the bonus point for leading the most laps, you couldn't ask for much more. I think if you're Matt Kenseth, you came into this week hoping that it was still a single-digit deficit when you left. But to come out with the points lead, that's not at all what you're expecting. So I think Matt Kenseth and them, and I think they expressed it in their post-race interviews and everything, that this was definitely what they were looking for, and they wish they could have won. Of course, I'm sure they wanted to win that race, but they knew in the long run that this was a great push towards what they hope to be a championship effort. But that's all I have for today. Now looking forward to Texas Motor Speedway next weekend. We only have 3 races to go in the chase for the Sprint Cup, 2 of which are 1.5 miles, which we've seen specifically Matt Kenseth be very strong at, but we've seen other guys. Jimmie Johnson, of course, has been good. He's been good almost everywhere we've gone. Jeff Gordon's been good on 1.5 miles historically, and this year he's been good. So those 3 definitely going to be serious threats to win at Texas. I picked Jimmie Johnson the last 2 weeks. He's gotten it wrong for me both times. So I'm going to go with his chief competitor. Matt Kenseth is going to win at Texas Motor Speedway. It's going to be his, what will it be then? His 5th win at a 1.5 mile track this year, I believe. Let me think. Kansas, Kentucky, Chicagoland. Yeah, it would be his 5th win at a 1.5 mile race track this year. So that's my plan. I hope that's actually how it turns out. But that's all I have for you today. I'll be making another one of my videos on Thursday. Will be the next time you see me. That is Halloween night. So right before you head out to trick or treat, tune into YouTube and you'll watch me talk about whatever the heck I'm talking about. Because yeah. And then go get a bunch of candy, whatever you want to do. Anyway, so I guess I'm really distracted right now filming this. I don't know why. It's late. I'm filming this Sunday night. It's like 9 o'clock. I have to go to school in the morning, so my heart's not really into it. But yep, that's my show. So I'll see you guys later.